Rebecca Hayes stood in her white wedding dress, watching her older brother Derek walk toward the microphone with a champagne glass in his hand and a smile that should have warned her something was wrong. It was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. She'd just married Michael, the love of her life, in a beautiful ceremony at a vineyard in Napa Valley. 200 guests, perfect weather, flowers everywhere, and her brother was about to give the best man speech. Rebecca smiled at him, her heart full of love and gratitude. She had no idea that in the next 5 minutes, Derek would destroy her in front of everyone she loved. Derek tapped the microphone twice. The room went silent. "Good evening, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Derek, Rebecca's older and significantly better-looking brother." Polite laughter rippled through the crowd. Rebecca smiled. This was normal. Brothers teased. But then Derek's smile changed. It became sharper, meaner. "I'm here to tell you all about my little sister. And trust me, I have stories. If you've ever had someone you trusted betray you in your most vulnerable moment, stay with me. Because what happens next will break your heart." But before we dive into Rebecca's nightmare, if you connect with real stories about real pain, consider joining our community by subscribing. Your support means everything, and these stories need to be told. Now, let's get back to the moment Rebecca's perfect day became her worst memory. Derek continued, his voice getting louder, more animated. "Rebecca has always been the golden child. Perfect grades, perfect job, perfect life. But let me tell you what she was really like growing up." He paused for effect. "In high school, Rebecca dated my best friend Tommy. Sweet kid. Loved her. But Rebecca dumped him the week before prom because she got a better offer from the quarterback. Tommy was devastated. Cried in my basement for 3 days. Rebecca felt her smile freeze on her face. That wasn't what happened. Tommy had cheated on her. She'd been heartbroken. But before she could say anything, Derek kept going. And in college, Rebecca slept with her roommate's boyfriend. Destroyed that friendship. But Rebecca always lands on her feet, don't you, Becca?" The room was silent now. Not the comfortable silence of an audience enjoying a speech, but the horrified silence of people watching a car crash. Rebecca looked at Michael. His face was pale, confused. This wasn't the Rebecca he knew. None of it was true. None of it. But Derek wasn't stopping. "And Michael, buddy, I gotta ask. Did she tell you about Jake? The guy she was engaged to 2 years ago? The one she left at the altar?" "Oh, she didn't mention that." "Yeah, there was a whole other wedding planned. Jake's probably at home right now wondering if you're going to get the same treatment." Rebecca's legs felt weak. There had never been a Jake. There had never been another engagement. Derek was making things up. But why? Why was he doing this? "But hey," Derek raised his glass, his smile wide and cruel, "here's to Rebecca and Michael. May this marriage last longer than her last 3 relationships combined." Which, for those counting, is about 18 months total. Cheers. Some people, out of pure social obligation and confusion, raised their glasses. Others sat frozen. Rebecca's mother stood up, her face red with anger, and walked quickly toward Derek. But the damage was done. Rebecca stood there in her beautiful white dress, in the middle of her wedding reception, and felt something inside her break. She should scream. She should defend herself. She should tell everyone that Derek was lying. But she couldn't speak. She couldn't move. She just stood there, tears running down her face, while her brother walked away from the microphone like he'd just delivered a heartfelt toast. Michael put his arm around her. "Becca, what the hell was that? Is any of that true?" "No," she whispered. "None of it. He made it all up." But she could see the doubt in Michael's eyes. The seed had been planted. Even if Michael believed her, even if everyone believed her, they would always wonder. Derek had made sure of that. The rest of the reception was a blur. People approached Rebecca with sympathetic looks and careful questions. Her mother was crying in the bathroom. Her father had physically removed Derek from the venue, practically dragging him to his car. And Rebecca, who had spent a year planning every detail of this day, just wanted it to be over. The worst part came later that night. Alone in the honeymoon suite with Michael, what should have been a romantic first night as husband and wife turned into an interrogation. "I need you to tell me the truth," Michael said. His voice was gentle, but Rebecca could hear the uncertainty underneath. "About all of it. There is no Jake." Rebecca's voice cracked. "Michael, please. You have to believe me." "I do believe you. But this is a lot, Becca. This is really a lot." They cancelled their honeymoon to Hawaii. Rebecca couldn't imagine sitting on a beach, pretending to be happy, while the entire internet dissected her character based on lies her brother had told. Instead, they flew home to Chicago, to their new apartment, to try to salvage what was left of their marriage before it had even really begun. Rebecca's mother called every day. "I'm so sorry, honey. I don't know what's wrong with Derek. Your father and I tried to call him, but there is no Jake. I was never engaged before. I never cheated on anyone. Michael, you know me. You know I wouldn't do those things. Then why would Derek say them? I don't know." And that was the truth. Rebecca had no idea why her brother had decided to humiliate her on the most important day of her life. They didn't make love that night. They barely spoke. Rebecca lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying Derek's speech over and over in her mind. Every lie, every cruel smile, every second of her humiliation burned into her memory. By morning, things had gotten worse. Someone had recorded Derek's speech and posted it on social media. The video was going viral. Thousands of views, hundreds of comments. People were calling Rebecca a slut, a cheater, a terrible person. The video was titled, "Best Man Exposes Bride at Her Own Wedding." Rebecca's phone was exploding with notifications. Friends from high school messaging to ask if it was true. Coworkers sending concerned emails. Her boss even called, asking if she needed to take some personal time to deal with the situation. The situation. As if Rebecca had created this. As if she was the problem. Michael was on his phone too, reading the comments, watching the video replay over and over. "People are saying I should get an annulment," he said quietly. "They're saying you trapped me, that you're going to do the same thing to me that you supposedly did to Jake." He won't answer. "We're just so sorry." Sorry didn't fix anything. Sorry didn't erase the video. Sorry didn't unbreak Rebecca's wedding day. Rebecca tried to go back to work at the marketing firm where she'd been employed for 3 years. But her co-workers looked at her differently now. Whispered when she walked by. She could feel their judgment, their curiosity, their doubt. Even though her boss publicly supported her, Rebecca knew the truth. She was now, that girl from the viral video. Her reputation was destroyed. 2 weeks after the wedding, Rebecca decided she needed to confront Derek. She needed to understand why. She drove to his apartment in downtown Chicago, her hands shaking on the steering wheel. She'd called ahead, but Derek hadn't answered. She knew he was home though. His car was in the parking garage. She knocked on his door. No answer. She knocked again, harder. "Derek, I know you're in there. Open the door." Finally, the door cracked open. Derek looked terrible. Unshaven, bloodshot eyes, wearing sweatpants and a stained t-shirt. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "What do you want, Rebecca? I want to know why. Why did you do that to me?" Derek tried to close the door, but Rebecca pushed it open and walked inside. The apartment was a disaster. Empty beer bottles everywhere, pizza boxes stacked on the counter, curtains drawn against the afternoon sun. "You need to leave," Derek said. His voice was slurred slightly. Was he drunk? At 2 in the afternoon? "Not until you tell me why you did it." Derek laughed bitterly. You really don't know? You really can't figure it out? No, Derek, I can't. Because normal people don't destroy their sister's wedding for no reason. Because I'm tired. Derek shouted suddenly. I'm tired of perfect Rebecca. Perfect grades, perfect job, perfect husband. Do you know what it's like being your brother? Do you know what it's like always being compared to you? Rebecca stared at him. So you humiliated me because you're jealous? I humiliated you because for once, just once, I wanted you to feel what I feel every single day. Like a failure. Like a disappointment. Like the family screw-up. I never made you feel that way. I never compared us. I never did anything to hurt you. You didn't have to do anything. You just had to exist. Perfect Rebecca, who does everything right. While I'm getting divorced, losing my job, drowning in debt. But nobody cares about that because you're getting married to your perfect husband. The pieces started clicking into place. Derek was getting divorced. Rebecca had known that, but she hadn't realized how bitter he was about it. His wife, Amanda, had left him 6 months ago. Rebecca hadn't pressed for details because Derek had seemed okay with it. Clearly, he wasn't okay. So you decided to ruin my wedding because your marriage failed? I decided to show everyone that you're not as perfect as they think. That you're just as flawed as the rest of us. By lying. By making up stories about people who don't exist and things I never did. Derek shrugged. People believe what they want to believe. And everyone loves watching the perfect girl fall. Rebecca felt tears burning in her eyes, but she refused to cry in front of him. I will never forgive you for this. Never. Good. Now get out of my apartment. Rebecca left, but she didn't go home. She drove to a coffee shop and sat there for 3 hours, trying to process what Derek had told her. Her brother had destroyed her wedding, her reputation, possibly her marriage, all because he was jealous. Because his life was falling apart and he wanted hers to fall apart too. That night, lying next to Michael in bed, Rebecca made a decision. She wasn't going to stay silent anymore. She wasn't going to be the victim. Derek wanted to play games. She would show him how games were really played. If Rebecca's pain resonates with you, if you've ever been betrayed by family, drop the word revenge in the comments. Because what Rebecca is about to do will change everything. And if you're invested in seeing how this story unfolds, hit that subscribe button now. You won't want to miss what happens next. Rebecca started investigating. If Derek wanted to expose her secrets, even fake ones, she would expose his real ones. She created a private Facebook group and invited everyone who had been at the wedding. In the group, she posted a detailed statement explaining that everything Derek had said was false, that he had admitted to making it up out of jealousy, and that she was considering legal action for defamation. The response was overwhelming. People apologized, shared their own stories of Derek's problematic behavior over the years, offered support. Her mother-in-law, Linda, sent a particularly touching message. I never believed a word of it, honey. I know exactly who you are, and nothing Derek said matches the woman my son loves. But Rebecca wasn't satisfied with just clearing her name. She wanted Derek to feel what she felt. She wanted him humiliated, exposed, destroyed the way he destroyed her. She started with Amanda, Derek's ex-wife. Rebecca had always liked Amanda, and they'd stayed loosely in touch even after the separation. Rebecca called her. Amanda, it's Rebecca. I need to ask you something about Derek. I saw the video, Amanda said immediately. I'm so sorry, Rebecca. I thought about calling you, but I didn't know if you'd want to hear from me. Actually, I need to hear from you. I need to know what really happened with you and Derek. Why did you leave him? There was a long pause. Are you sure you want to know? I need to know. What Amanda told Rebecca over the next hour made her stomach turn. Derek hadn't just been a bad husband. He'd been emotionally abusive, controlling, and ultimately unfaithful. He'd cheated on Amanda multiple times, including with a coworker and with a woman he'd met at a bar. When Amanda had confronted him, he'd gaslit her, told her she was crazy, accused her of being paranoid. The final straw had come when Amanda discovered Derek had opened credit cards in her name and racked up over $40,000 in debt. He'd been gambling. Online poker, sports betting, trips to casinos. He'd lost everything and had started stealing from Amanda to fund his addiction. "He's sick, Rebecca," Amanda said. "And I don't mean that metaphorically. He has a gambling addiction and probably alcohol dependency. I begged him to get help, but he refused. So I left. I had to protect myself." After hanging up with Amanda, Rebecca sat in stunned silence. Her brother wasn't just jealous and bitter. He was an addict. He was in crisis. And instead of asking for help, he'd lashed out at Rebecca, the easy target, the perfect sister who made him feel inadequate. Rebecca should have felt sympathy. She should have felt concern. But all she felt was rage. Derek had known exactly what he was doing when he stood up at that microphone. He'd been sober enough to plan it, to craft lies that would hurt her most, to deliver them with that cruel smile. His addiction didn't excuse what he'd done. Rebecca decided to dig deeper. She contacted Derek's former employer. She reached out to mutual friends. She pieced together a picture of her brother's life that she'd been too self-absorbed or too trusting to see before. Derek had been fired from his job at a tech startup 3 months before the wedding. Not for performance issues, but for stealing. He'd been caught taking money from the company credit card, buying personal items and claiming they were business expenses. The company hadn't pressed charges because Derek's boss felt sorry for him, but they'd made it clear he would never work in the industry again. Derek had been borrowing money from their parents for over a year, always with excuses about unexpected expenses or temporary cash flow problems. He owed them over $30,000 that he had no intention of paying back. Derek had gotten into a fight at a bar 2 weeks before the wedding and spent a night in jail for disorderly conduct. Their parents had bailed him out and begged him to go to rehab. He'd refused, said he was fine, said everyone was overreacting. Everything clicked into place. Derek's speech wasn't just about jealousy. It was the behavior of someone spiraling, someone self-destructing and taking everyone around him down too. Rebecca had just been collateral damage. But understanding didn't mean forgiving. Rebecca compiled all the information she'd gathered. Text messages from Amanda. Records of Derek's debts. Screenshots of online gambling accounts. Proof of his theft from his employer. She organized it all into a presentation, similar to what Marcus had done to his sister, but Rebecca's evidence was even more damning. Then she waited. She needed the perfect moment. The perfect audience. The perfect revenge. The opportunity came 4 months after Rebecca's wedding. Derek's best friend, Chris, was getting married. And Derek, somehow, was the best man again. Rebecca received an invitation. She almost didn't go. Michael certainly didn't want to go. But Rebecca insisted. "I need closure," she told Michael. "I need to face him." What Rebecca didn't tell Michael was that she planned to do more than face Derek. She planned to destroy him the way he destroyed her. The week before Chris's wedding, Rebecca got a call from her mother. "Rebecca, honey, I need to tell you something. Derek is in the hospital." Rebecca's heart dropped. "What happened?" "He tried to hurt himself. He took a bunch of pills. Your father found him just in time. They pumped his stomach. He's going to be okay physically, but..." "Rebecca, he's not okay." Rebecca drove to the hospital, her carefully planned revenge suddenly feeling hollow. She found Derek in a private room, looking even worse than he had at his apartment. He was hooked up to monitors, and 4 in his arm, and he wouldn't look at her when she walked in. "Why'd you do it?" Rebecca asked softly. Derek's voice was barely audible. "Because I'm tired of hurting people. I'm tired of being me." "Derek, you need help." "I know. Mom and Dad are making me go to rehab. 60 days inpatient. I leave as soon as I'm medically cleared. Rebecca sat down in the chair next to his bed. She thought about the presentation on her laptop. The evidence she'd compiled. The speech she'd written. She could still destroy him. She could stand up at Chris's wedding and expose every one of Derek's secrets, just like he'd exposed her fake ones. But looking at her broken brother, hooked up to machines because he'd tried to end his life, Rebecca realized something. Revenge wouldn't heal her. Destroying Derek wouldn't unbreak her wedding day. It would just create more pain, more damage, more brokenness. I had a whole plan, Rebecca said. I was going to ruin you at Chris's wedding. Say all the things you said about me, except mine would be true. I was going to make you feel exactly what I felt. Derek closed his eyes. You should. I deserve it. You do deserve it. But I'm not going to do it. Derek opened his eyes, looking at her in confusion. Why not? Because you're sick, Derek. You have addictions that are destroying your life. And yes, you hurt me terribly. What you did at my wedding was unforgivable. But adding more pain to this situation doesn't help anyone. It just makes everything worse. Tears ran down Derek's face. I'm so sorry, Becca. I'm so sorry. I was drunk at your wedding. I'd been drinking all day. I don't even remember half of what I said. And when I saw the video later and realized what I'd done, I've wanted to die every day since. Rebecca felt her own tears start. You can't die, Derek. You're my brother. And yeah, you're a mess right now, and you did something horrible. But you're still my brother. How can you not hate me? Oh, I hate you, Rebecca said honestly. I hate what you did. I hate that you ruined the most important day of my life. I hate that I can't watch my wedding video because your speech is on it. I hate that people still look at me differently because of the lies you told. I hate all of that. But I don't hate you enough to want you dead. Derek sobbed. I don't know how to fix this. You can't fix it. Not really. But you can get better. You can go to rehab. You can get sober. You can work on whatever is broken inside you that made you think destroying me would make you feel better. And then what? We just pretend it never happened? No. We acknowledge that it happened. We live with the fact that you did something terrible and our relationship may never be the same. But we try. If you're willing to actually do the work, to actually get better, then I'm willing to try. Over the following months, Derek went to rehab. 60 days turned into 90. He got sober. He started therapy. He joined a 12-step program. He got a sponsor. He did the work. Rebecca started therapy too. She needed help processing the trauma of what Derek had done, the violation of being humiliated so publicly, the struggle to rebuild her life and her reputation. Her therapist helped her understand that Derek's actions weren't about her. They were about his pain, his addiction, his inability to cope with his own failures. Understanding didn't mean forgiving, but it meant Rebecca could stop internalizing Derek's cruelty. She wasn't a bad person. She wasn't deserving of humiliation. She was just the convenient target for someone who was drowning. Michael and Rebecca's marriage survived, but it took work. Couples counseling, difficult conversations, rebuilding trust that had been damaged by doubt. Michael admitted he'd wondered, in the darkest moments, if any of what Derek said was true. That admission hurt, but it was honest. And they worked through it. The viral video eventually died down. New scandals, new drama, new wedding disasters captured the internet's attention. Rebecca's name faded from the comments sections. Life moved on. 6 months after his suicide attempt, Derek completed his rehab program. He came out sober, humbled, and determined to make amends. He wrote Rebecca a letter. A real letter, handwritten, 10 pages long. In it, he detailed every lie he'd told at her wedding and why he'd told it. He explained his addictions, his jealousy, his self-hatred. He didn't make excuses, but he provided context. At the end of the letter, he wrote, "I know I can never undo what I did. I can never give you back your wedding day. I can never erase the pain I caused. But I can promise you that I am doing everything in my power to become someone worthy of being your brother again. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I hope that someday, maybe years from now, you might be able to look at me and see something other than the worst thing I've ever done." Rebecca read the letter 3 times. Then she called Derek. "I got your letter." "I meant every word," Derek said. His voice sounded different. Clearer. More present. "I know you did. And I want you to know that I'm proud of you for getting sober. That takes courage. Thank you. That means a lot. But I need you to understand something, Derek. What you did changed me. It changed how I see family, how I trust people, how I feel about my own memories. My wedding day should be one of my happiest memories, but now it's one of my most painful. You did that. And I don't know if I can ever fully forgive you for it. I understand. But," Rebecca continued, "I'm willing to try to rebuild something. Not the relationship we had before, because that's gone. But maybe something new. Something honest. If you stay sober, if you keep doing the work, if you prove that you're really changing, then maybe we can be siblings again someday." "I'll prove it," Derek said. "However long it takes, I'll prove it." And slowly, carefully, they began rebuilding. It wasn't easy. There were setbacks. Times when Rebecca couldn't stand to be in the same room with Derek because the memory of her humiliation was too fresh. Times when Derek struggled with sobriety and had to lean on his support system to stay clean. Times when their parents tried to push reconciliation faster than either sibling was ready for. But they kept trying. Derek made it to 1 year sober. Then 2. He got a new job, managing a small team at a nonprofit. He started paying back his debts. He apologized to Amanda, not asking for forgiveness but acknowledging the pain he'd caused. He became, slowly, a person Rebecca could respect if not fully trust. On the 2nd anniversary of Rebecca's wedding, Derek asked if he could meet her for coffee. Rebecca agreed, though she brought Michael with her for support. Derek showed up with a gift. A photo album. Inside were pictures from Rebecca's wedding, but only the good ones. The ceremony. Rebecca and Michael's first dance. The cake cutting. The happy moments before Derek's speech. He'd carefully curated photos that told the story of a beautiful wedding day, excluding the nightmare. "I can't give you back what I took," Derek said. "But I wanted you to have this. Memories worth keeping." Rebecca looked through the album, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "I'm also recording a video," Derek continued. "A public apology. Explaining that everything I said at your wedding was lies, that I was drunk and struggling with addiction, that none of it was true. I'm going to post it on the same platforms where the original video went viral. It won't reach everyone, but maybe it will reach enough people to set the record straight." "You don't have to do that," Rebecca said. "Yes, I do. You've been living with the consequences of my actions for 2 years. The least I can do is try to correct the narrative." Derek posted the video the next week. It got some traction, though not nearly as much as the original Humiliation had gotten. The internet loves watching people fall, but it's less interested in redemption stories. Still, people who knew Rebecca saw it. Coworkers, friends, family. The whispers at work finally stopped. Life didn't return to normal because there was no normal to return to. Instead, Rebecca built a new normal. One where she was a survivor of public humiliation rather than a victim of it. One where she had a complicated but honest relationship with her brother rather than a fake perfect one. One where her marriage was stronger because it had been tested and survived. 3 years after the wedding, Rebecca got pregnant. When she told Derek, he cried. I'm going to be an uncle. You are. And I need you to understand something. You're going to be in this child's life, but you're never going to be alone with them until they're old enough to understand addiction and make their own choices. And if you ever relapse, you're out. No second chances with my kid. That's fair. That's more than fair. And you're going to be honest with them as they grow up. About your addictions, about your recovery, about the mistakes you made. I want my child to understand that people can screw up badly and still work to be better. I can do that. I want to do that. When Rebecca's daughter, Emma, was born, Derek was there at the hospital. Not in the delivery room, but in the waiting room, ready to meet his niece. He held Emma carefully, tears running down his face, and whispered, I promise I'll be better for you. I promise. Rebecca watched her brother with her daughter and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Not that everything would be perfect, because it wouldn't be. Not that Derek would never struggle again, because he would. But hope that people could change. That families could heal. That forgiveness, even when it came slowly and with conditions, was possible. On Emma's first birthday, the extended family gathered for a party. The first time everyone had been together since the wedding disaster. It was awkward at first, everyone dancing around the elephant in the room. But then Derek stood up. I know everyone's thinking about it, so I'm just going to say it. 3.5 years ago, I was the worst version of myself at Rebecca's wedding. I humiliated her, I lied about her, and I nearly destroyed our family. I'm not that person anymore. I work every day not to be that person. But I also know that actions speak louder than words. So I'm not going to make grand promises or ask for group forgiveness. I'm just going to keep showing up, keep being sober, keep being better. And I hope that over time, I can earn back some of the trust one destroyed. The room was silent. Then Rebecca's father started clapping. Then her mother. Then, slowly, everyone else joined in. It wasn't forgiveness, not exactly. But it was acknowledgement. Acknowledgement that Derek had done the work, that he was still doing the work, and that maybe, just maybe, redemption was possible. Later that night, after the guests had left and Emma was asleep, Rebecca and Michael sat on their back porch, watching the sunset. Do you ever regret not getting revenge? Michael asked. You had all that evidence. You could have destroyed him. Rebecca thought about it. Sometimes I wish I had. Sometimes I still want to. But then I think about what it would have accomplished. Derek would probably be dead. I'd be the person who pushed him over the edge. And for what? To feel better for 5 minutes? To prove I could hurt him as badly as he hurt me? You're a better person than I am. No, I'm just tired of pain. I'm tired of anger. What Derek did was unforgivable, but I chose to work toward forgiveness anyway because the alternative was carrying that rage forever. And I couldn't do that. It was eating me alive. He's lucky to have you as a sister. No, Rebecca said firmly. He's lucky I chose compassion over revenge. But he earned his place in this family by doing the hard work of recovery. I didn't give him anything. He had to fight for every inch of redemption. Fair enough. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sky turn pink and orange. Rebecca thought about her wedding day, about standing in her white dress while her brother destroyed her. She thought about the viral video, the whispers, the doubt in Michael's eyes. She thought about finding Derek in the hospital, about the choice she'd made not to seek revenge. She didn't regret it. The path she'd chosen was harder, messier, more complicated. But it was also more honest. More human. More real. Revenge would have been easier. Forgiveness was the bravest thing Rebecca had ever done. So what would you have done in Rebecca's position? Would you have chosen revenge or compassion? Would you have exposed your brother's secrets or helped him heal? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story moved you, if it made you think about the power of choosing forgiveness even when it feels impossible, hit that subscribe button. We share stories like this every week, stories that explore the complexity of family, the possibility of redemption, and the courage it takes to choose healing over hate. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.